Hey everybody, and welcome to Hell is for Children. My name is Geerte Frenken, and this show is all about the topic of protective mothers and their children. So, what's a protective mother? A protective mother tries to protect her child or children from their abusive fathers by many means necessary, which is an uphill battle in today's global corrupt family court system that thrives on paternal entitlement. And today's show is going to be a little bit different from previous shows that I've done because I'm going to be interviewed about my own case by the wonderful Mel Ve. So welcome, Mel, to the show. And I'm actually going to kind of turn over the show to you since you're going to be interviewing me and discussing my case since there have been some new developments.
Absolutely. Thank you, Geerte. I'm appreciative of you coming and chatting to us at these very, very trying times in which you're going through, very confusing times and very concerning times for everybody. Your case has been a global landmark case. A lot of mothers have been keeping an eye on as an example to, mark their cases by or see how to proceed. And it's unfortunately we still have not got to a conclusion that's satisfactory to anybody or that's just. And one of the reasons why I decided to get into this with you today is because I think it's really about time that we lay it down the line since you've last been on air. The various developments, key developments in the case with regards to freeing Yasmin and see how far we are in terms of actually realistically bringing her home. Because more than anything, we all want to see mothers and children reunited, particularly when they get torn apart by the corrupt system. If nothing else, to give those other mothers some hope and bring peace of mind to mums and also safety to their loved children. So just want to say how much I am in utter admiration of your battle, your intelligence and the amount of effort and time and dedication you've put into trying to get your daughter back. It's a very, very heartwarming thing to watch. The love of a mother and the determination of a mother to get a daughter out of danger, bring a daughter home, be just your basic right to be a mom. And it's something I feel so deeply empathetic with. And it's when I look at all the work that we do, the exposures that we do on the network, I think one of the things that really hurts me the hardest is seeing how families are being affected by the corruption of our society and to see how terrible things are going on with children and to see how mothers are suffering as a result of having lost their kids. I could think of nothing worse than to have that maternal bond ripped apart, but also to have that worry of not really knowing what's going on and, never knowing when or if you're going to get your child back. And then when you do, what condition they're going to come back to you in. So I think really tonight we're going to go deep and get into the updates since you were last on air, because there have been some very, very, very strange developments that I think really need to be highlighted so that people understand just how corrupt our system is and just how severe the child trafficking by the courts is and the extreme means by which and just ridiculous injustices which are being played out in order to perpetuate this insanity. So Geerte, let's start off with your former husband, Yasmin's biological father, has had a brain tumor. And let's start there. He is no longer with us.
That's right. He passed away on April 30th of this year. And I kind of want to backtrack for those folks who don't really know my case and share my screen. So we can go to my website, Free Jasmine from Court-Ordered Abduction. This website is about her case from beginning to end. And it explains that in April 2014, Jasmine was 10 years old and she was brutally and unlawfully deported from the Netherlands to her father in Marin County, California, despite expert evidence of abuse, molestation, and neglect, and despite the fact that he admitted to the court that he had a severe drug addiction. Also, what I really haven't added here yet, but if you go through the story here year by year in the sordid history, is that the father submitted evidence of criminal activities to the court. And all of this was entirely ignored, and my daughter was deported. This case, the fact that these events happened, is now pending in a complaint with the United Nations. So the United Nations has accepted my complaint about the role of the Hague Court and the Appeals Court, as well as the District Attorney and the Child Protective Services role in all of this, because really no one can make any sense of it, really, looking at it. And to this day, I really don't understand why it has happened and how it has happened. I have done all these shows on it with Hells for Children, about 50 in total, to try and get to the bottom of it. I mean, is it all money? Is it all about paternal entitlements? Is it New World Order? Is it a global pedophile trafficking network? We know that the father worked with a federation. He submitted evidence of this to the court himself, a federation that helped him get Jasmine through the court system. Who exactly is involved with the federation, we don't know. But that's definitely part of the research that I'm doing together with an entire team of legal experts. We're looking at all the evidence in the case and what exactly happened. And that's what this website is about. It's showing everything that's happened. Now, exactly what you said, once my daughter was deported in 2014, the father basically stopped allowing contact. Right? He basically forced me into an agreement for him to get custody and for me to get visitation. I was threatened that if I didn't comply with that agreement, if I didn't sign the agreement, that I wouldn't ever see my daughter again. So I had to, go along with this kind of judicial extortion. And at this point, the father cut off contacts. It started about a couple months after she got there. It took me 2 years to get the records from the court. So the court didn't give me my own case records. I had to enlist the help of the Foundation for the Child Victims of the Family Courts to actually threaten the clerk of the court with a federal lawsuit for her to finally release the records to me. That was in July last year, so exactly about a year ago, yeah. And at which point I immediately filed contempt against the father for not adhering to the visitation arrangement, together with the supervisor and his attorney Ryder in Marin County. And during these contempt procedures, I started fighting pro se because I had already spent probably in total of $120,000 on family law attorneys since this case started back in 2009. So I didn't have any money left, so I became a legal expert myself just by filing motions and learning, how to represent myself in court. And during these contempt procedures, it became clear that my ex-husband was suffering from brain cancer, which could explain a lot of the behavior, the aggression, the obsession, the paranoia that he had displayed throughout these years. Whatever the case may be, he wasn't adhering to the visitation arrangement, and so it became clear that he was very ill, and I started subpoenaing the medical records, and it took about 6 months of fighting 2 attorneys in court every week to to finally get the judge, Judge Adams in Marin County, to do what's called an in-camera review, which basically means that she looked at the medical records and then she told me in court what he was suffering from. And she gagged me. I was not allowed to share the diagnosis with anyone, which I haven't to this day, because I do respect people's privacy, when they suffer from something that severe. That is devastating for everyone involved. For Jasmine too. I mean, it's her father. No matter what he's done or hasn't done to her, that is her father, right? So what I did do is file a motion with the family court judge saying, hey, we now know that he is terminal. We don't know when he will become incapacitated or when he might pass away. Let's put measures into place that upon his passing, Jasmine will come back to me in the Netherlands. I'm her mom. And the judge basically refused to do that. She didn't put any measures into place to guarantee that Jasmine would be returned to me upon his passing. So we had a court hearing set. I filed another motion for modification. We had a hearing set for May 3rd. Unfortunately, her father passed away on April 30th, which was 3 days before that particular hearing. So I filed another motion, ex parte, to be taken place the day after, right, on May 2nd, to make sure that Jasmine would be put on the plane since her father had passed away. And instead of making any decisions about Jasmine, Judge Adams just abated the case. Now, abating means that you have to dissolve the case because one of the parties passes, and so there's no more family law case, right? A family law case means there's two parties and they're battling over something, custody, the children, visitation, right? But if one of them passes away, there's no more case. And she declined jurisdiction over the case. That part was correct because at the moment that my ex-husband passed, the United States no longer had jurisdiction over the case. Jasmine is not just American, she's also Dutch. And I am Dutch. And I live in the Netherlands. And I have a custody order that went into effect literally the moment my ex-husband breathed his last breath. At that moment, by default, I got custody. And this is the law in the United States and in the Netherlands. So something else happened instead. The day, while all this is happening, I get an email from a attorney saying that she represented Jasmine and that Jasmine wanted to stay with her friends in Marin County and that she had filed a petition with the Marin County Probate Court in California to be placed in the guardianship of her Uncle Chris. Now, this is kind of odd because, first of all, like I just mentioned, the United States has no more jurisdiction. The case was abated, right? Judge Adams declined jurisdiction. Here comes Judge Simmons from Marin County Probate Court and takes back jurisdiction. That right there was incorrect. Judge Simmons did not have any more jurisdiction. She should have contacted the court in the Netherlands and switched the jurisdiction back to the Netherlands. She failed to do so. We had a hearing the next day, on May 4th, and Jasmine was present in the courtroom. Now, mind you, I had not talked to her yet since the passing of her father. I had not been able to express my condolences to her. So here we are in a courtroom, and Jasmine, the judge says to Jasmine, Jasmine, what do you want? Where do you want to live? And Jasmine says, well, I want to live with my friends in Marin County, which is so understandable for a 13-year-old girl to, be that connected to your friends and to your community. I totally understand that. But the problem is that Uncle Chris lives in New York and he does not live in California. So I told Jasmine in the courtroom, I said, first of all, I want to offer you my sincere condolences with the passing of your father, who was my ex-husband, right? I mean, what a bizarre situation. I mean, think about it. Her father passes. Now she has to be in court 2 days later upon the death of her father to choose between an uncle who she doesn't know, who lives in New York, 3,000 miles away, or her mom in the Netherlands. And she says, well, I don't want either of that. I want to stay in Marin County. Why would any child be placed in such a position to have to go to court upon the death of her father? That is ridiculous. Not only is it ridiculous, it's unlawful. Because like I just said, the United States no longer had any jurisdiction over the case. So that whole event should have never even occurred. And for those who want to look into what I'm sharing with you right now, this story, it's on my website. Jasmine's father dies, estranged uncle gets custody because within 10 minutes in that court, 10 minutes, Jasmine was placed in the temporary guardianship of her Uncle Chris in New York, which is impossible by itself for American standards because American law says that you can't take a child out of the jurisdiction of that state, right, unless you have permission. But this was a temporary guardianship, meaning that Jasmine had to stay in Marin County, right? How can Marin Department of Children and Family Services even do a mandatory guardianship investigation if the uncle doesn't live in Marin County? I mean, this is ridiculous, okay? So she was then placed in the temporary guardianship of Uncle Chris and Aunt Jody. I have met these people once or twice back in 2005, I believe, is the last time I saw these people. Jasmine was 1 year old. I never had a problem with these people. They've never been unfriendly to me. I've never had a problem with them. I really don't know them. They don't know me. Just from meeting once in 2005 for a couple of days at my house. Why are these people interfering with my custodial rights? I had submitted 2 objections to this guardianship procedure in Marin County probate courts, explaining the law. And that law is that upon the passing of a custodial parent, the non-custodial parent automatically gets full sole, legal, and physical custody. So not only were the United States laws violated at the moment that these people started interfering with my custodial rights, Judge Simmons also violated what's called the UCCJEA, the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction Enforcement Act, which is kind of like the Kidnapping Act of the United States. What most people might not understand, technically, each state in the United States kind of works like its own country, almost like the European Union, where, yes, we're a European Union, but each country still has its own laws. The same thing applies to the United States. You cannot just take a child from one state to another. It doesn't work like that. And that's why the UCCJEA is in effect. Now, there's also an international version of that kidnapping act, and it's called the Hague Convention, the civil aspects of international child abduction. So what these people didn't realize when they did this is that these treaties were violated by the ruling of Judge Simmons. So what did I do? I filed a federal international child abduction case in San Francisco Northern District Court of California to sue the uncle for child abduction, because I have custody and I have the evidence of the fact that I have custody of my daughter, and I am the sole surviving parent. I am the natural biological mother. I mean, my God, you know, I have to like wave papers around to prove that I actually gave birth to this girl. This is ridiculous. So I filed this at the end of May, and it took me a couple of weeks, several weeks, to track Uncle Chris down to have him served with the summons. Because I was thinking, well, Uncle Chris seems to be, from the impression that I had from him in 2005, that he was an honest, person with integrity. Here he is interfering with my custody, but maybe he's doing that because he doesn't know what he's gotten involved in. He doesn't know that he's actually, according to the law, now abducting my daughter internationally. So I thought he was ignorant, but I did think that at least he would then move to Marin County, which is what Judge Simmons had said during the hearing. She said, "Oh, I have heard that Uncle Chris is going to move to Marin County." A side note over here in this part of the story is like, how did she know? Did she talk to Uncle Chris? Because that's not allowed. You're not allowed as a judge to talk to the parties before the case goes to court, right? So how would she even know? In any case, at the time that I was tracking him down to have the sheriff serve him with the summons, we found out that he was not living in California at all. He had gone home to New York to be with his family, and he had dumped Jasmine with strangers in Marin County. Local law enforcement in Marin County told me that 3 weeks ago they were considering putting her in one place, and then a week ago they decided to place her with someone else altogether. So she's been shuffled around between different families who are trying to get custody of her. Last week, I believe, I got another petition from the Minors Council. Her name is Gretchen Rubel, stating that some woman, Naomi, and I won't let everyone know her last name to protect her privacy, but Naomi is a woman I don't know, petitioned to court for co-guardianship of Jasmine. And so I guess anyone can just go and petition for guardianship of my daughter over there. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, the probate court doesn't have any more decisions to be, they can't make any decisions about custody of my daughter. And the reason for this is that, the Hague Convention treaty under which I filed this federal petition outlines that if you are the parent of an internationally abducted child or a wrongfully retained child, which is the case in this particular case, Jasmine is wrongfully retained in the United States, you have 1 year to file this petition in federal court. And any decision that's made in a lower court during this year is invalid. Okay, so the federal decision that the judge is going to be making in this case is going to supersede any decisions that have been made or that will be made in Marin County Probate Court. Uncle Chris, meanwhile, got an attorney, Mr. Adele. Mr. Adele of San Francisco. Adele Law Firm is not specialized in Hague Convention cases. He is an entertainment attorney, and I will make sure I will give him his money's worth of entertainment, because he doesn't really know what he's talking about, which I can see in his motions. So Mr. Adele says, well, I'm going to fight this case according to what's called the Colorado River Doctrine. That means that what he's saying is you can't file a federal Hague case if the probate court already made this decision. Wrong. According to the Hague Convention Treaty, it's the other way around. Because guess what? Otherwise, people would take children across borders and get custody of these children in other countries or other states, and the parents wouldn't have any legal recourse to get their children back. That is why the Hague Convention Treaty was created in the first place. But, you know, it's fine with me if Mr. Adele doesn't know what he's talking about, because that makes it easier on me. So for all the people who are interested in reading what the Hague Convention articles are, go ahead and go to the hcch.net and look up the Convention of October 25th, 1980 on the civil aspects of international child abduction. And you will see here that these articles lay out exactly what I am sharing with you today, Mel, that I have the right to apply under this treaty to have my daughter returned to me within 1 year of the wrongful retention. And the wrongful retention occurred as soon as Uncle Chris started interfering with my rights. So here we are. I'm waiting for this case to go to court. I am hoping that Uncle Chris will, and this woman Naomi, because of course, this woman Naomi, she's in a world of trouble too, because on August 7th, there's another case in Marin County Probate Court, and during that particular hearing, she's trying to get co-guardianship of Jasmine, at which point I add her as a defendant to the federal Hague case, right? Because then she's already interfering with my rights, because she has no rights whatsoever. She's just a stranger holding my daughter in Marin County, not allowing any contact, none. I mean, what's this about? I don't know this woman, you know? And they can all say, well, this is what Jasmine wants. All right, well, let's look at this. Imagine you have a child, and one day your child goes and plays at the neighbor's house. And it's dinner time, and you go to the neighbor's house, you say, you got to come home now. It's time for dinner. And your child says, well, no, I like it better over here. And I want to go live here. Would you at that point say, okay, well, then you go live over there. Goodbye and have a great life? Of course not. You would say, it's dinner time. Time to come home now. Right? I mean, that's the basics of what's going on in this case. We have a 13-year-old who is an adolescent who wants to stay with her friends. Of course she's going to raise hell to try and have that happen, but it doesn't mean that we have to cater to her adolescent's desires because she cannot oversee the consequences of these types of choices. That's why we are parents and they are children until they're older and their brains are fully developed, right? In any case, her friendships do not supersede my constitutionally protected rights to parent her. My 4th and 14th Amendment constitutional rights to be her parent supersede her wishes to be with her friends. That doesn't mean I don't want her to be with her friends. Her friends are welcome to stay at our house here in the Netherlands anytime they want. They can be on Skype with her, on any social media apps. They can be on the phone all day long. I've never blocked her from having access to her friends, ever. She can bring her cat with her. She can bring all her personal belongings. But the adventure in Marin County is over. And these attorneys, of course they're going to tell her, yeah, fight for this. Because this makes them a lot of money. As long as there's conflict, attorneys make money. Right? I know, and everyone knows, that I'm going to win this case. So Jasmine, if you are watching, please prepare yourself for the fact that you are going to come home to mom, whether you like it or not. And I will help you with the transition once you are back. Your grandma loves you and misses you. She has fallen ill from stress. Your cousins, your friends, everyone misses you and is waiting for you to come home. We rather have resolved this in a peaceful way than through the courts. People have made probably over $1 million on this case since 2009. That's what this case really is about. Don't think that Mr. Adele or Miss Rubel or Miss Ryder give a damn about Jasmine. They just care about the money they keep getting from this case. Right? So I have several plans to go after these people. These are child traffickers. Unfortunately, Uncle Chris is also a human trafficker and Miss Naomi is as well. They might not realize that, but they are. Now I'm going to share with you my screen while my phone is ringing here. And let's look at some of the ways that you can fight back if you are in a situation like mine and you're watching this and you're wondering, what can I do? Well, for anyone dealing with interference of custodial rights and visitation rights, you can sue that person. Here is a website that explains the torts that you can file when someone interferes with custody and visitation. So I have a custody order from the Netherlands, right? So I can show any federal judge, like, look, the moment that my ex-husband passed away, I had full custody and these people are interfering, right? So you can see here in the United States between 25,000 and 100,000 children are kidnapped each year. Jasmine is just one of those, right? I mean, this is really happening to millions of children worldwide, unfortunately. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at ways that the parents can fight back because, again, this is human trafficking through the courts. And we do have legal recourse. And this is one of the ways. You can sue anyone that's doing this to you. So suing is definitely the option that I have, suing Naomi and suing Uncle Chris. And obviously, their partners will get involved as well because, my daughter is at their house and they're These are married couples. Um, you can then, so you can sue for interference with custody and visitation, since these are constitutionally protected rights, as well as the intentional infliction of emotional distress. And one of the things that's not on this website is loss of consortium. That's another thing you can sue under. Um, so there's various tort claims that apply to situations like this. This is, I'm planning to make this my specialty, is suing anyone who's doing this to any mother. And it doesn't matter to me if they're attorneys or, mediators or evaluators or judges. I will sue anyone. Why not? What do we have to lose? They take everything from us, our kids, our money. We might as well go all out and make these people realize that they are doing horrible things to the mothers of these children, right? The way I look at it is like, okay, people that do this type of stuff, specifically the fact that these are parents themselves, right? This woman, Naomi, she has children. Uncle Chris was also a father, right? So if you're a parent and you steal a child from another parent, then there's something wrong with you. I mean, so either you don't have a solid relationship with your own child, or you're not, or you're in your head and you're not connected to your heart. Like there's something's wrong, right? No normal person would steal a child. So the way I look at it, it's like, okay, so these people don't have empathy. They don't have the ability to understand how painful this is for the mother of a child. So let's make them feel it where they do have feelings, which is, they only care, the thing they care about is money, right? I mean, that's what this is all about. So let's then hurt them, right, where where they feel it. I mean, I can't reach them, right? I called Uncle Chris the day after his brother passed to offer him my condolences and to say, hey, I know that there's an attorney contacting me and they want to put Jasmine in your care, but let's please don't do this. Let's settle this out of court, put her on the plane, help me reunite with my daughter. She's been alienated by the father and very severely, probably brainwashed, completely confused. Be a grown-up, be the adult here, and work this out with me. And he didn't want to. And I said to him, then I have to go after you for interfering with my parental rights. And I don't want to. I don't want to have to sue you. I don't want to be in any court case. But these people don't listen. See, they don't listen. They don't go to an attorney who's specialized in these topics to find out what they're actually doing. They just kind of do it for whatever maybe their intentions are wonderful. Maybe they really think I'm some crazy, dangerous woman or whatever Kool-Aid they've been drinking from, my ex-husband, whatever stories he told everyone. Really, I don't care. The fact of the matter is, the father passed away, and at that moment, my child should have been brought to me. Period. End of story. It is the American law, it is Dutch law, and it is the treaty that these countries have with each other. So I am going to win. There's no doubt in my mind that Jasmine is coming home. But what these people really should be worried about is then facing a lawsuit, right? I was thinking what to ask, 8.5, $9.5 million? How do you put a number on this kind of gross infliction of terror? Because that's what it is, right? Now, The other thing that we have is we have the players like Mr. Adele and Miss Rubel and Judge Simmons and these players in Marin County Superior Court who are known to traffic children. Well, I have this in the works. I have a civil rights claim that I am going to be filing about my case because of what happened, right? For all the people who are watching and are trying to figure out how to do that, if you're a protective mom and you're watching this, if you plan to file a civil rights claim against the county, against the court, against the state, you need to actually file a letter of intent to sue. This is the information about California. If you're in a different state in the United States, check your local laws. You have a certain time limit in which to send this letter after the custodial interference started happening. Because that's what we're suing under, right? So here, for California, it is within 6 months of the incident. You see here, within 6 months of the incident. So I'll be filing my letter of intent to sue California, Marin County, and Marin County Superior Court, and the judges, Judge Adams and Judge Simmons, and the attorneys in this case, you know, definitely the mediator who 2 weeks before my ex-husband said that Jasmine should stay with her father because she was genuinely thriving and happy, even though her father was about to pass away. I mean, these people are nuts, right? So it's quite easy to, in my particular case, because my particular case is so extreme, to file a civil rights claim. And I advise every mom to do this. So really look at it, because from the moms that I've seen who have filed a civil rights claim, often the case gets dismissed because they don't know that they have to actually send this letter within 6 months of the event. Now, for the moms who are from another country than the United States and have their children held in the United States in violation of the treaty, there are other ways to sue. And I'll stop sharing my screen here. Like, I have been in a group of moms whose children have been deported to the United States. And what happens is the father's cut off all contact, just like in my case. Like, all our cases are pretty much the same. According to Article 5B of the Hague Convention Treaty, you have the right to access. That means that you have rights for your child to come on vacation with you in your country. And if the father does not adhere to that, and if the court does not adhere to that, there are ways you can sue. And you can sue the court, you can sue the judge, which is what I plan to do too. I have many, many plans cooking in my kitchen. This is the Alien Tort Act. It is a federal tort that you can file against the United States when they interfere with your parental rights, according to the Hague Convention Treaty. So an alien tort can be filed if the United States violates a treaty, an international treaty. Well, the Hague Convention is an international treaty. So, for example, if on August 7th, Judge Simmons gives custody to this woman, Naomi, I'll sue her through an alien tort because she's violating the treaty, and she knows I've notified her that the case is pending in federal courts and that I've done it within the year according to the treaty. So if she goes ahead and does this anyway, she makes it real easy on me. I think what these judges and what these traffickers don't realize is that they can get away with some of this stuff maybe with some moms and quite many years in a row, but at some point there's going to be a mom who's going to be like, I don't think so. And I'll be paving the way for many, many other moms because see, in the background, instead of doing House for Children, I have formed an organization that is teaching the moms how to do this. So we are filing civil rights claims. We are filing towards, um, it's happening. The revolution has started. The mothers are coming. And I actually enjoy doing this. I enjoy the law. I enjoy seeing what these treaties in their essence and in their origin actually, what the real intent is. And these laws have really good intent. It's just the people, the attorneys that go into courts that argue their cases in such a way that these treaties get violated. So my aim is to get justice for the mothers and for these children who are suffering from Stockholm syndrome, who have trauma bonded with their environments, their fathers, their family, who've been deprived from contact with their moms and their grandmas and their uncles and aunts on the maternal side of their family. I mean, it's just, these are really gross human rights violations. And I think that's the way to go. I mean, I can do an interview every week and interview moms on this topic, right? But in the end, what you start seeing, like after I did 50 shows, what you start seeing is like every story is the same. Every story is the same. So let's do legal surgery on each case, right? And let's at least, at a minimum, make sure that it costs these people more than that they make from it, right? So let's say Miss Rubel, the attorney of Jasmine, right? She's making a certain amount of money on this case. I'm going to make sure that it's going to cost her more than she's making, right? So this is a way to deter human traffickers from doing these types of gross, acts on children. And so I'm going after all of them individually and in a group. I mean, I'll be litigating for at least the next decade. Many claims are going to be going out this year in all kinds of courts. And that's just the way it's going to be. It's not something I want to do. I never wanted any of this. But this is parenting for mothers in 2017, apparently. That's what it's come down to. You have to become an attorney and fight for your right to be a mom. I mean, what the hell? You would think that that is your birthright, right? I liked my guest Bethany, protective mother Bethany, that I had on, and she said, if God had intended men to be the primary caregivers of children, he would have given them the ability to get pregnant and give birth. I mean, we need to claim motherhood. Children are not possessions. Children belong with mommy. I mean, turn on National Geographic. The animals, the puppies, the kittens, they stay with mom until they're grown up, and then they go out. They go and build their own lives. That's nature. It is unnatural for children to be removed from their mothers, and apparently we haven't had the rights by men, by society, to have to be moms since the beginning of time, really. Whether that's enforced through the judicial system or the religious system or a political system. When you put a child on this planet, other people start interfering. And it's time we put a stop to that. So I'm looking at all different types of ways to do this, not just legal ways. Looking also at reforming some of the laws and some of these treaties and some of the arrangements. Um, Holding the authorities accountable that should be helping me, you know. That's my United Nations complaint. It's a lot of work, but I am helping other moms with my case. So this is really bigger than my own daughter, has become much bigger than that. And the last time I did Skype with her, which is about 2 months ago, I did tell her that. I said, you've gone through a lot, and maybe you can do what your mom does with difficult experiences and look at the difficult experience as an opportunity to do something for someone else, to make lemonade out of lemons. Because ultimately, we are here on planet Earth to help each other and to live in harmony, not to fight each other. And again, I don't want to have court cases with Naomi and Uncle Chris. I really, I don't want to be bothered with, I don't want to have anything to do with these people. I just want my kid back, you know, honestly. But if they continue to interfere, yeah, then I have my ammunition ready, and I will have to continue to go to battle, etc., etc., etc. Gets kind of old, this battling. Hello, just put my kid on the plane, and before your own family is destroyed with lawsuits and expensive attorneys and the stress from court cases. I mean, if anyone knows how stressful it is, it's me. I don't wish it on anybody.
Yeah, if I may just interject here for a second and ask you, why do you think Uncle Chris won't cooperate? Obviously, you've given him the kidnapping order. He's been in receipt of it now. What is really behind all this? I mean, you must have some kind of instinct as to there's something else going on here.
I don't know. I mean, we can speculate about it. It could be many things. And of course, I've talked about this with my friends and family. And, some people say, well, maybe Dave on his deathbed said, like, my last wish is that Jasmine will never have any contact with her mother again. I don't know. The guy was psychotic from his brain tumor, so who the hell knows what he said to these people, what his last wishes were. And maybe Uncle Chris feels like some kind of martyr who has to fulfill his brother's last wishes. I don't know. Or other people say, well, this is probably about money. I know that Uncle Chris talked about a trust fund that there is for Jasmine, that they've left a trust fund. And he said to me, if you fight Jasmine on her wishes, it will come out of her trust fund. I'm like, dude, I'm not interested in money. I don't care about the money. I just want my kid back. If you want to go spend it on attorneys, you go explain that to Jasmine when she's 18 and she wants to go to college. I don't know. Maybe it's about the money. Maybe the brother said, look, I'll give you my life insurance payout if you keep my kid away from the mom. Maybe Naomi needs the money. I know that one of the protective moms investigated her, and this is the other thing. I have a network of thousands of moms all across the planet, and they are private investigators. So one of the moms did some private investigating and said, this woman's husband is seriously ill with Parkinson's. So maybe they need the money. Maybe they get money from Uncle Chris. Maybe this is some kind of salary for them. They already have 3 kids. I don't know. I don't know what these people are doing. I think it's a very good question. Like, why are they interfering? Is it, some people say, oh, well, they know that if Jasmine comes back to you, that she's going to tell you what really happened, and, you're going to sue. Well, guess what? I'm going to sue anyway. So that cat's out of the bag. That doesn't matter anymore. So I know if that's the reason to hold her there, then I got news for you. Lawsuits are coming. If anything, these people were smart. They would call me up and they say, look, I was just trying to help your daughter and I didn't know any of these legal matters and I feel terrible about it. Let me put the kid back on the plane. Let's try and settle this. If I was them, I would do that. Once you are a defendant in a tort action, your life just is not the same. Let's just put it that way. And I don't want to have to do it. Again, I don't want to have to do it, but I will because no one's leaving me a choice, you see. And the more I sue, the more experience I have to help other mothers sue. And I'm already doing that. These cases are already pending. Just people don't know. They don't know who's helping who in the backgrounds. Welcome to Anonymous.
Yeah, anonymous moms. So what do you think is actually really going on? What has happened to Jasmine in the meantime while she's been over there? I mean, you say you don't want to speculate, but this case is so extreme that there has to be some kind of oligarch manipulation behind the scenes.
Well, usually what happens when children are taken from their mothers by, what I call domestic terrorists, the children are told things about the mom that are not true, and some fathers are more egregious in this than others. But they can just say like, look, your mom's child abductor and, she's dangerous and your mom's not quite, your mom's not quite right in the head. I mean, look at these doctor's forms here and they show custody evaluation reports that are written by guys who are paid off. I mean, that's the thing. You can pay a custody evaluator, not all of them, but some of them, to write a report and with nonsense. And that's what happened in my case. We had Dr. Dugan. Let's put him out there. Dr. Dugan, when my case was pending in Nevada County in 2009, the court suggested that we go to that Dave and I and Jasmine go to a court psychologist to see what was really going on because, Dave had admitted to the court that he had a 30-year-long addiction to drugs. He admitted in open court that he was smoking crack and doing heroin and that he had been battling it for 30 years and that the only years that he had been clean was with me. So the Dr. Dugan did a psych eval on the both of us. And at the end of his psych eval, he said his conclusion was that Geerte should move closer to Dave so Jasmine can have more contact with her father and because she's so stressed. So he turned it around like, here's a mom who's stressed about her child being in unsupervised contact with her father who's smoking crack. And he turns it around and he says the mom should move closer to the drug addict's father as if that would resolve the stress, right? I mean, this is the kind of shenanigans that these people do. And the guy was paid off. He was a friend of Dave. And so he wrote this report saying, Geerte breaks under stress. Yeah, definitely. I'll break under stress when I have to bring my child to unsupervised visitation with a crackhead. Yeah. I think that's very, very healthy to break under that kind of stress, to cry and to be upset and to be concerned. So this is the kind of shit that happens. Interestingly enough, like Dave would email me stuff and BCC that guy. I mean, so I could see throughout the years they were friends. It was just a friend who wrote a report with some bad shit. But this is the kind of stuff they will show to Jasmine. Say, look, it says here that your mom's stressed. Like, she's not quite right in the head. And this is what they do with all the moms. In literally every case, and I looked at thousands of cases, They will use the stress that a domestic violence victim experiences as a result of the abuse against the victim of the domestic violence. And I talked about this with Barry Goldstein, who is the retired attorney that I interviewed on House for Children. And he explained that during these divorce psychological tests, the domestic violence victims are not tested for the results of the trauma that has been inflicted on them with what's called the Campbell Danger Assessment Test, which in my opinion and in his opinion should be a mandatory part of testing in high conflict divorce cases. Since the tests are just regular MMPIs, you're going to see a profile of a narcissist, psychopath, and a victim, of one person who's really in control because he's extremely manipulative, and of the mother who is stressed out as a result of this constant coercive control and what it's doing to their children. So there are definitely ways to educate the courts, to educate the attorneys, to educate law students, to educate policymakers with this research, which is actually being executed by the Department of Justice, who literally publishes information and numbers and research results that support everything that I'm saying throughout this entire interview with you, interestingly enough. So we all know that the system is used to further abuse domestic violence victims. And if you ask me why, well, you can always take a look at the show I did on that, and I'll share my screen here. I did a 3.5-hour documentary with you, actually, Mel. As you remember, which was a long haul. If you go to House for Children and you click on this link, Judicial Child Trafficking Causes and Solutions, it explains in 3 hours and 20 minutes exactly why children are trafficked, how it is perpetrated, who is benefiting from it, the billions of dollars that is made by judicial child trafficking, and what we can do about it, and some of which I shared with you today is suing and filing civil rights claims and, you know, educating yourself on the law and fighting back. But, the other thing is, of course, talking about it, which is what we're doing today. And we need to get mainstream media involved as well. It needs to be, this information needs to be shared because it's really society's dirty little secret is that children are trafficked this way. And to go back to the topic of Jasmine, Jasmine doesn't know that she's being trafficked. I mean, this is the hard part about all of this. I mean, these people are probably very nice to her and, she's been living in Marin County for 3 years and she has her friends there and, her lifestyle is, pretty up there because it's kind of like the Beverly Hills of California. So the kids are all like eating sushi and drinking Starbucks coffee, and she walks around with, lots of expensive makeup. And I mean, I'm sure she's having a good time over there, right? But what she doesn't realize is that people are making a lot of money from this situation, and that's really the only thing that this is about. And she's missing the nurturing from her mommy and from her grandma, who is not getting any younger either, and she's missing an essential part of her childhood. And how do you cope with that when you're 13 years old and your father passes on top of everything? I find it disgraceful, the people around her, that they are inflicting this upon her. Because since her father got sick, she has been hustled around between 9 different individuals. Uncle Chris submitted a declaration to court that Jasmine was hustled around from person to person for months and months in a row due to her father's illness. And upon his passing, this is continued. And this must be extremely difficult for Jasmine to have no stability. Here is your mom in another country, like constantly fighting with these lawsuits. All you want is be left alone, right? And listen to music and do makeup and hang out with your friends. It's too big for her to grasp, I'm sure. I mean, how do you make sense of this? Like, she probably thinks these people are trying to help her and I'm just a pain in the ass and I should go away. Well, when she's older, she'll understand because maybe one day she will become a mom. And, I don't think she's going to want her children to be stolen from her. Um, Jasmine, if you're watching this, like, imagine someone taking your cat and then you go knock on their door and say, hey, that's my cat. And they say, well, you're not getting it back because it's my cat now. See, here's a piece of paper that says it's my cat now. You say, no, it's your cat. It's my cat. Oh, it's like, and then people start making money from this fight. I mean, that's what's really happening here. So I hope that the people that are doing this to her will stop this, obviously. They probably won't because they make so much money from it, right? I mean, Mr. Adele probably charges $5,000 per motion, right? I mean, he's looking at this. He's like, these people are dumb enough to try and fight with this woman. Fine, I'll stick the 50 grand in my pocket and promise them the world. I mean, that's how these people think. And that's a terrible thing. You think you have an attorney you can trust and you just get screwed. Again, I'm going to win that federal case. There's no doubt because the law is on my side. And federal judges, look, if a federal judge is not going to bring my kid back, I'll file the alien tort. I'll file the alien tort and I'll sue the United States on violation of the treaty. I don't want to sue anybody. Just give me my kid back, like tomorrow. I might start only fighting on other cases. I might be, have a change of plans.
So what do you do to people? What do you say to people who say to you, well, the more you fight, the more money people are making? Surely you're just feeding the beast. Surely you are wasting a lot of energy, a lot of time, and that ultimately all you're doing is empowering the bad guys.
It's true. Mr. Adele's making money, and so is Ms. Rubel, right? And the federal courts and their employees and Marin County probate courts and the clerks and everyone's making money from this. And if Marin Children Family Services gets involved, they also make money. I mean, that's what this is about. It is about money, but this is the world we live in. This human trafficking is, very rich business. We've looked in the documentary at the actual research numbers and concluded that the money made with the child trafficking through the courts generates more money than illegal drug and weapon trade combined. Right? So we're talking like $3 billion a year globally. So, and that's, aside from the other type of human trafficking that's going on. I mean, there's different types of human trafficking. This is the judicial form of it, and very lucrative business, So one of the things I want to do is help the moms, train the moms to fight back as pro se litigants. Because if you're a pro se litigant, right, if you are a self-represented litigant, if you fight without an attorney, then the opposing party is dishing out the money, but you're not, right? I'm not spending any more money on suing. It's a $400 initiation fee, and after that, it's just Uncle Chris doesn't know anything about the Hague Convention and law and how to write motions and submit it. Hey, hell, I don't know exactly what I'm doing either. I mean, I'm filing it, but I don't know all the procedural stuff. Let's talk about that because Mr. Adele, he submitted a motion this week, and I know he's watching, And I want to tell you, Mr. Adele, you submitted this motion in which you said that my motion should be dismissed because I don't know the technical details about procedural ways of filing stuff in court, which is true. However, we go here. In the case of Picking versus Pennsylvania, RCO 151, Fed Second 240, and Puckett versus Cox 456 Second 283, pro se pleadings are to be considered without regard to technicality. Pro se litigants' pleadings are not to be held to the same high standards of perfection as lawyers. This particular paragraph, I'm just going to copy and paste in every motion that I'll be submitting from here on. Thank you for your attention and have a nice evening.
Yeah, you certainly have your hands full, Geerte. And what do you anticipate getting Jasmine back at any time soon? I mean, with everything that you're doing, do you anticipate a positive outcome?
Yes, absolutely. If Jasmine is not returned, because I know the federal court's going to rule in my favor, if they still hold her after that, she will be removed by law enforcement. Law enforcement has been informed, including international law enforcement. Everyone knows what's going on. Everyone knows Naomi is holding Jasmine without any authority to do so. Everyone knows where she is. The case is monitored at a very high level. And as soon as I have the federal court order and they won't let her go, we'll have the same way that she was taken from the Netherlands by SWAT team. We'll have the exact same scenario happen again, but then in the reverse, which is exactly what I'm trying to prevent. I really hope this woman Naomi and Uncle Chris are watching this, because I do not want them to traumatize my daughter a second time with SWAT teams. Please just put her on the plane and prevent all this trauma to everyone.
I just have to wonder what kind of impact this is having on her. Yeah, you say she's drinking Starbucks and eating sushi and all that, but realistically, this kind of instability, corruption, what do you think it's doing to her?
Well, we're going to find out once she's back. The Hague case schedule the trial should have already happened. According to Article 11 of the treaty, the trial should proceed within 6 weeks after commencement of the case. Currently, the case schedule is not on Article 11, which is an issue. But whether it's in 6 weeks or in 6 months, Jasmine will come home. And at that point, we're going to take a look at what kind of help that she needs. We know that she was suffering from dissociative symptoms. You know, when your mind kind of like tunes out of the difficult stuff, and which is so natural for children to do when you're going through these types of experiences. You don't want to deal with any of this. You rather be on your phone, on your apps, on Instagram and whatever, and be a kid, right? You don't want to deal with any of this stuff. So the mind, I've looked at the psychology of this, the mind kind of splits. It's very hard to feel your feelings, because if she would truly allow herself to feel what's going on, a loss of her father and the loss of her mother and the loss of her grandmother and the loss of her entire maternal family in the Netherlands and her Dutch culture and her Dutch language, if she would really allow herself to feel that, she wouldn't be able to survive this. So she probably continues to dissociate. And that's kind of what I saw in the Skype sessions that I had with her. It's her survival mechanism, and I understand it. And that's going to be my task upon her return, is to help her, get in touch with her feelings and, plan what we're going to do next. Are we going to stay in the Netherlands, or are we going to move to another country in Europe, or are we going to move back to the United States together after a while? All of these things are possible. Jasmine, if you're watching, I want you to know that. I'm not going to keep you from anything that you want. We're going to talk about what your desires are, and what I would like to do, and we're going to find compromises, and then find out how we can both be happy from here forward, how we can both get help to reunite, get some help in that reunification process. And it's going to be fun too. We're going to do lots of fun, get things over here and wherever, and travel, and
So you mentioned earlier on that, one of the reasons why potentially you haven't got Yasmin back is because they don't want you to know what's really gone on. Do you have any inkling of the fact that she has been in any way abused or messed with?
I don't know. No, I don't know, because the father basically barely ever allowed contact. I think since April 2014, if I've had 30 Skype sessions with her, it's a lot. And that's about the extent of it over 3 years and 2 months or 3 months, whatever the hell it's been now. And during those Skype conversations, they were supervised, and you can't really have a real conversation. You can talk about the weather, you can talk about school. They really limit the topics that you can talk about, which is ridiculous. It's like, why is it even necessary for a mother to have only contact with her children with someone sitting next to it? Like, excuse me? Like, I'm not a mass murderer or something? Like,
especially since it's over Skype, it's not like you can reach through the screen and,
yeah.
really damage.
And I'm not going to trade any, state secrets. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what the hell? What do they think I'm going to say to her? That's so terrible. I don't know. I don't know what the hell these people are doing. It feels very much like, I don't know, World War II and kind of Nazi kind of techniques of mind control, and and they were successful, right? I mean, Jasmine's been successfully brainwashed. She's been successfully abducted. I mean, if you're 13 and you choose to upon the passing of your father not to go to your mom, then they've successfully brainwashed you. So I think it takes about 18 months of keeping a child away from the mother for the child to develop a distorted view of the mother, to destroy that. And they've done a great job. If you see the times that I saw Jasmine on Skype, most of the time she enjoyed it, and she was curious and interested, and we had good times. But there's also times where you can see the anger, right? Like where she's probably in her mind blaming me for everything that's happened. And so how do you make sense of this? Of course, you blame it on mom. Like, why would you blame it on people if everyone around you for 3 years says that it's all your mom's fault? Then you start believing that, right? Especially if there's attorneys and therapists, and they all repeat this over and over again. Like, how the psyche of a 10, 11, 12-year-old is not there's not strong enough to withstand that kind of psychological force. Of the thousands of children that I see going through this, I've maybe seen 2 or 3 children who were not broken, whose bond between, the mother-child bond, who were not broken. It's really very, very few. If it's 1%. Their mind control techniques are successful. Absolutely. The Tavistock techniques of breaking the bond between mothers and children is successful. Their experiment has succeeded. That is the conclusion that we can draw. For me, personally, it's more about will I be able to reestablish it with her, right? Upon her return, because her return is coming. Because she, like I said, she doesn't even know what's actually happening. She's not on the age to even comprehend um, what's behind it, which is so sad, and that's really what's sad for all these children. Yeah.
For someone who I've had a very happy marriage for 16 years, and I know that my husband and I would make good parents, but it's when we hear these sort of stories about the real injustices and the way kids are suffering, it kind of really takes the wind out of you, and makes you wonder, like, what are we subjecting our children to by bringing them into a system and that is ultimately not benefiting them, that doesn't really serve the purpose of justice for which it was set up. And in fact, things like the Hague Convention can be so manipulated and abused that, as you say, the most natural thing in the world, being the bond between a mother and a child, can be broken and used in such a way that it ends up making a whole bunch of people who don't even know you on the other side of the world large amounts of money.
Well, I think that, when we look at what's happening on planet Earth, you can see that the people who are interested in control and money they don't have any regards for things like the bond between a mother and a child. They don't give a damn. They just care about paying their mortgage and going on vacation in the Bahamas. I mean, they don't care about Jasmine, they could care less. It's not about the children. To them, it's just another child walking around. Hey, have a great life. It's not my issue. I just want my paycheck. It's just a paycheck.
It's a job.
And a lot of people ask me, like, how do you think these people sleep at night? And I say, they don't care. They're not at that, like, they don't have that development, that consciousness to even comprehend what they are doing and what impact their actions are making, not just on the child, but on the family and the friends and the schools and everyone around that. It's like a wave of a shock wave of misery that these people create that causes them to that's their job. Their job is to do this, and that's we might not want to take a look at the world through those kind of eyes, but that is really what's happening. I mean, obviously people like you and me and other conscious people are trying to create a world where we can share the resources that we have instead of having to go over the backs of our children to, you know what I mean? Like, where are your priorities, right? So psychopaths run the world, and that's not to say that I think most people aren't aware of this. Most people are zombies. They're on their phones all day and work 9 to 5. They're tired. They just go on with their lives. They don't really understand what's happening at a larger picture as to who is doing what exactly and who is scamming who and in what way and for what purpose. And unfortunately, our children are also caught up in that. And by the time they realize it, it's usually at a much later age. We've interviewed Brendan Byrne, who wrote the book Don't Hug Your Mother. And he was a victim of this, just like Jasmine. And he figured it out when he was 21 or 22 somewhere, and then even it took him another couple of years until he actually went to find his mom. I think he was 28 or something by the time he actually contacted her. So it's too big to wrap your mind around when you're a kid. You don't want to deal with it when you're a kid. You just want to be left alone and have your friends and have your life and be into the newest band and, have the coolest sneakers in the class. And, that's your world when you're, 11, 12, 13, you don't know what people are doing with you, and they seem nice, and you think that adults know what they're doing, you trust them. When you're a child, you trust the adults. You don't want to think of, it's fearful to think of the fact that people that are taking care of you are actually just making money from you. That's really scary. And even if they're doing it with the right intentions, right? This is the thing. I think a lot of it is ignorance. I don't think these people realize that they have abducted Jasmine. By now, they should have been, in touch with a good attorney and get some good advice before she gets sued for, it's like, I don't know. I can't say they're highly intelligent because you wouldn't be involved with this otherwise. You know?
Yeah. Okay, I certainly admire your battle, your struggle. This is an insane cosmic gauntlet that you have to navigate, and I must just, from all the shows that we have seen you do, I know firsthand that there's a lot of mothers who gain strength from your struggle, but also from the intelligence and emotional maturity with which you're dealing with this, because it's so easy to become completely overwhelmed and just come across like a crazy woman, like, try and, I mean, I don't know that I could myself just manage to keep it together if my child was ripped from me like that. It's...
Well, it's a matter of, first of all, I have no choice. Let's start there. Because a lot of people say, like, you're so strong. It's like, well, what's the choice? The idea of a father of a child who's doing this to a mother is to destroy the mother. So if I would have allowed these events to destroy me, the father would have won his, he would have reached his goal. So for me, the only thing that matters is to not let this make me bitter, right? To remain loving, to be able to have warm, supportive relationships, to stay intact. And that takes work. I mean, this is, you have to nurture yourself and your own needs and emotional, psychological, and physical health throughout all of this, because it's very damaging with so there's many different strategies as to how to take care of yourself throughout these kinds of traumatic experiences. And I think anything that's traumatic in life, whether it's an international child abduction or a death in the family, or a terrible accident, or a natural disaster like a flood, or a fire, like these types of really intense events in a human being's life can form you and shape you. And I think if you can get through it by keeping your soul intact and transforming the experience as an opportunity to be there for other people and support them in their, their stories, then we can make the world a better place, right? I think that ultimately that's the purpose of all of this. And I'm not going to tell you that every day I have the strength with which I'm sitting here with you now. There are days that I'm in bed with the blankets over my head and I'm crying because I'm miserable. I'm very, very sad about what's happening. And that's okay too. Those days are part of the mourning process. I mean, my child was taken from me, and I've missed more than 3 years of time with her, and I'm devastated. I'm devastated. And there's days I can handle that better than others. But in the end, no one will destroy my soul, my spirit, because that is a promise I made to myself as this happened, as I realized that I was a domestic violence survivor. I said, no, I will not allow myself to become bitter and angry. And that doesn't mean I'm not angry. I'm totally pissed off. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean I'm not sad. I'm devastated. But in the end, you have to use the experience in a productive way. At least this is what I've told myself. Make it into something productive that's helpful for other people. And so when Jasmine does come back, she sees a strong woman who has a life and not a devastated mom who can't function anymore from the post-traumatic stress, right? So every day that I fight for her, whether it's in court or whether it's by working and taking care of my home and my kitty and myself, right? Those are all ways I am actually parenting her. She's just not here. And eventually she will be. Within, I think within now and, I don't think it's going to take a lot longer than another 6 or 8 months or so, and she'll be back.
Well, I tell you what, fingers and toes and everything else we can cross is crossed. I hope to see a return of Jasmine very, very soon. But also, there has to be some sort of reform to this whole judicial child trafficking scenario. Surely we can't be living in a society where we allow lawyers to get, stonking rich off the misery of suffering children and mothers.
Well, this is why I think we should sue them. I mean, really, what other recourse do we have? I'm not quite sure. The only thing I can think of is suing them. And this is a part of the moms haven't really explored much yet. Or they haven't been able to find attorneys who are willing to do that. Because it's a club, right? So the Bar Association is a club, and you don't want to sue your colleague, right? Because then you're not in the club. I mean, attorneys just make deals. You're not going to sue someone that you have to do deal making with. But I'm an outsider, see? I'm not in the club, so I can sue anyone. And I'm not afraid to sue anyone because guess what? They've taken everything from me, so there's nothing more to lose. And I'm not in the United States, so they cannot retaliate against me anymore. So I'm in a wonderful position to do that and to help other moms to do it, and then other moms can teach other moms, and this is what I'm doing in the background now. Yes.
Well, I have a huge amount of admiration for you. I just, myself, not necessarily a mom of a human child. I've got my little kitty child. I recently was separated from her from a short time, and it has brought home that real deep desperation you have for that motherly space when you're in a place where you are helpless to what is going on and desperate just to be back with your child again, irrespective of the circumstances on the other side. That mother-child bond is something that is so powerful and so strong. And your driving force, I would imagine, for everything that you're doing. I mean, that is how powerful it is. That is what keeps you going. That's what gives you the strength in spite of everything that's going on.
Well, it's my survival mechanism. I mean, it's my coping skill. It's not for everyone. I understand that there are mothers who can't do that. I happen to be a very brainy person, and I like learning. So I get into the law, and I'm like, okay, I'll get into that. I can get into art. I can get into teaching communication in university, and I can get into law. As long as it's something that interests me, I'll really get into it and dig into it. And I have fun writing these motions. I enjoy doing it. So. But it's not for everybody. There's going to be moms that they can't handle it. It's very, very difficult to work on your own case. It's much easier for me to work on a case of another mom and another child than working on my case, because working on your own case is it's like you're stirring in the old trauma. It's like scratching at an open wound. It's extremely painful. There's lots of feelings of despair, like you said, when your kitty, when you were separated from your kitty, you feel that despair. you feel powerlessness, you feel restless, you know, you can't really focus. The PTSD, it causes you to have a hard time concentrating. So the way I looked at the experience is like, well, this is what the experience is doing with me. I looked at it more of like, okay, so how can I approach it as an opportunity to grow instead of just having it be hurtful? And not everyone's uh, approaching it that way. It's just my way of doing it. Um, and it's not to say that that's healthy. I mean, for me to be working on these motions 10 hours a day for all these moms, I mean, there are, times that my friends call me and say, all right, that's enough. Close your laptop, just go out and, have a beer in the sun and have a life. Come out on my yacht with me and let's go sailing. You know what I mean? Like they have to help me because I end up like really getting into it, and that's not good either, right? So I'm not saying I have everything under control, by no means, but I do. My way of dealing with this is fighting back and getting good at it and helping other moms because it's painful for me to see them suffer. Um, and I just, it's very, very difficult. All the thousands of moms I know through social media, and then I can see their grief, and I relate, and I want us all out of that. I want to punish the people that do this to us. I want to punish the people that take that natural role of being a mom um, away from us. The best way I can describe it is this way. If your child is stolen from you, it feels like an abortion. It feels like a abortion of a live child, and it just doesn't go away. The abortion happens every second of every minute, of every hour, of every day, of every week, of every month. And all you can think is, why? Why are these people doing this? Why are they interfering with the sacred mother-child bond? It is the most unnatural thing and the most egregious way to interfere with Mother Nature. It is the most disrespectful way of the divine feminine on this planet. It is the most paternally hateful energy that anyone could ever have imagined and created and then executed on this global scale. It's a desecration of our role as women. Uh, You can't even hold on to your kids anymore by the millions. I mean, so now motherhood is like a rare thing. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
what the hell?
Yes. Yes, and there is a latent effect to this. I call it mental sterilization, where there's a whole generation of people who are looking at the system and going, it's so utterly corrupt. God forbid anything goes wrong, because you may just never get your child back. Is it even worth having them in the first place?
Well, there's a lot of mothers who are, or a lot of young women, because I'm also on Facebook with, with any young women to older women, an entire age range. And what I see in the younger generation is they are deciding to get pregnant, but by sperm donation or by sperm bank. They look at this because it's happening so massively. For those viewers who are watching this and are thinking that I'm making this stuff up, if you look at the research, and you can watch that judicial child trafficking documentary, there are currently 2 million protected mothers in the United States alone, and the global estimate is about 8 million. So the chance that 50% of all marriages with children end up in divorce. And out of that, there's, according to the Child Ombudsman in the Netherlands, 25% of those marriages end up in these types of coercive control or high conflict or whatever label you want to put on it, but these kind of child abductions through the courts, basically. So that's a massive amount of marriages that end up in this situation. I can hope that Jasmine will not go through this in the future. Really do hope that she will find a partner who will be supportive of her and her motherhood, if she decides to become a mom. But there's definitely a chance that you're going to end up in a situation like this. And this is why younger women are now choosing to go to the sperm bank and say, I don't want to have to deal with all of that, and I'll just do it that way. Yeah.
And that, to me, is the most unnatural way to have a child. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems, like, oh, okay, so you go to sperm bank and you get pregnant, you have a child, and then one day you got to tell your child, well, this is how I had you. Just, again, it's a perversion in every way, natural perversion. And it's almost, it's an artificial solution that kind of, so maybe you might avert getting divorced, maybe you might avert having to fight for your child through the courts, but at the same time, is that really the better solution? It's to assume that there's always going to be that kind of trouble. That's
Well,
what you're doing in doing this.
There's two ways to go about it. We can take a look at the world and say, let's fight to make it a better world, because in a real beautiful world, the way the planet could be, we would have children out of love, right? That's obviously the way it's supposed to be. But as we just talked about, the world is not what it's supposed to be. It is femininity on this planet is getting raped by in every which way you can think of. Feminism is like a bad word, it's like, what's going on? Like 50% of the planet is women. All right. So let's stand up for that. But, most women aren't, because they're brainwashed into taking a part in the men's world. So we have a completely different type of world that you and I think it should be. So for women, young women, to take a look at that and think, well, if I have a child with a man, there's a risk that I'm going to be in a divorce, that I'm going to be ending up dealing with these custody cases that's going to rip my career apart and take my house and destroy the rest of my family. I'd rather go to the sperm bank and deal with it that way. I understand. I understand that that's what would be their conclusion. Is it natural? No. But we are living in an artificial world. That's the thing, is humanity is moving away from their connection to their natural source. Most people can't even sit still for 2 minutes and just be. That's what the whole mindfulness movement is about, right? It's like, how about we just are, and we just breathe, and we just feel and experience, instead of act and be busy and be on your cell phone, and it's a disconnect. So but there's consequences to being disconnected from your heart, and everyone experiences the consequences of that in their own way, but you cannot avoid being confronted with it at some point in your life, and it depends on you what you do with it. Some people become workaholics, some people become drug addicts, some people, like I said, they go on their cell phone all day long. There's many different ways to avoid your heart. There's many different ways to avoid feeling what it's like to be a human being, and what it's like to reproduce and be pregnant and put a baby on this planet and breastfeed it and nurture it. It's like, not everyone has the same depth of experience. Some people experience life just like a Disney World experience, where you get to go into different rides and then that was it. right? Not everyone's like has the consciousness to look at what miraculous experience it really truly is, and to nurture that and respect it and honor it and support it. Most people trash it. Mother Nature is trashed every second of every day in every which way you can imagine. But more and more people are waking up that we have to take care of ourselves and our planet and of nature, and take care of the animals and take care of ourselves in the middle of the onslaught of, you know, aggression, really, because, you know, if we go back to the topic of children being stolen, it's the most violent thing you can do to a woman.
Yeah. Well, Geerte, we are heading towards the end of the show. I just want to ask if there's anything else you want to contribute to this particular output.
Well, I talked with Biggie and I talked with you a couple of weeks ago. You guys were asking, when are you coming back and do more episodes of Hell's for Children? I just want to let the viewers know that I'm working on it. Right now, the show is on hold because of this second and now third abduction of my daughter, and this kind of high-paced learning process that I'm going through to get her back through the federal courts. Um, but the show will come back at some point, and I don't know when because life is rather unpredictable at the moment. But I want to thank everybody for their support. I literally hundreds of messages and emails and phone calls every day of people expressing their love and support in everything that I've been doing to try and get my daughter back. And, you know, I just want to use this opportunity to express my appreciation for that, because when I am laying in bed in despair with the blankets over my head, that is what keeps me going, you know, to know that people really do give a damn and that I'm not alone. And I want to use this opportunity also to let all the other moms know that I care. I do give a damn about what you're going through. I know how you're feeling. And, you know, I'm working on it. I'm working on it in every way I possibly can to make change as much as I can, because I do believe that the experience has occurred to me so I can be of help to others. Otherwise, I can't make sense of it anymore for myself, you know? And I want to let Uncle Chris and Naomi know that I have no bad intentions, never had, and never will. But to please give me back my daughter. Stop interfering with my custodial rights. I don't want to have a fight with anybody, really. You know what I mean? So can we all just get along? You're all a bunch of hippies over there in Marin County. So live your motto, which should be peace. You know what I mean? So that's what I like to go out with. I wish peace and harmony and love and warmth and joy and blessings on everybody who's watched the show. And thanks for tuning in. And I don't know when Health for Children will be back, but stay tuned.
Yeah. I just want to say, Geerte, you are never alone, and we really genuinely do care, and you know, we will do whatever we can to support your struggle. And I want to say you are a huge inspiration to so many people out there who are battling, you know, trying to get the kids back. And we obviously will give you all the support we can. So
It would be wonderful if she would come back, and I think it would really inspire thousands and thousands of moms all around the world to know that it is possible to get your kid back from the paternal abduction like this through the courts. And this is my life's aim, so I will never stop. That's another message that I want to put out there. I will never stop. And the more they fight me, the more I fight back. And I'm not alone. I have a team of legal experts who help me, and that team is only growing by the day. So the more to push back, the bigger revolutionary wave that will be the consequence of that. So we'll see where it goes. And I do believe in the creator or God or, whatever you want to call it, that, superhuman consciousness. And I do believe that I'm being guided and that I have help from above um, to get me through this. And that's what I go on, that's it.
Well, you certainly have our support, and of course, we look forward to seeing Yasmin back because it's going to happen. It is going to
That's
happen.
right. That's right. And that, when it happens, the first thing we're going to do is get on a plane and come see you guys.
Oh, we can't wait. I tell you what, some great places to show you here. But
Yeah.
just give us your media mentions and websites one more time.
Okay. Let me share my screen here. Let me see. Stuff's in the way. So freejasmine.com. That's it. Bring her home. I would love to see the day when this website is no longer necessary to be up, but until that time, here's the story. Jasmine, once you're back, we'll do what we discussed before you were taken. We'll change your name. I'm going to change my name too. You're not going to be living a life here with people knowing what happens. I live in an area where no one knows what's going on, so don't worry. When you're back, you'll have a new name and new life, and this will be behind you, and I'll help you get through it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everyone, for caring, and, we're going to go on in the most positive way possible, and with full faith and love.
Brilliant. Okay, on that note, Kat, I think we're going to round up. Thank you for in-depth, very, very heartfelt accounting of what has gone on. It has been, from our perspective, just, actually heartbreaking to see the suffering that you've been going through, but also truly inspiring to see your strength and your fortitude and your calmness through all of this, which is why as a network we can only but support what you're doing, and we consciously cognitively feel this injustice. We see it, we read everything that comes past, or we see all the comments, we look at what the moms have to say, and the impact that it's having on so many people who are following the story because of interest on their side or because of their own suffering, just in the hopes of someone getting a break somewhere so that there is a way in which we can actually get some kind of justice, particularly for the suffering children and their mums.
Well, thank you, CCN, and thank you, Mel, for allowing us to give us the airtime to share our stories, because as we know, mainstream media doesn't really give us the opportunity. Barely, so I love you guys, and this is the way we get our message out, and this is real and unfiltered and raw, and that's what we need for people to see the truth and hear the truth and experience it, and for all of us to get to another consciousness level so we can prevent these types of injustices from occurring. So thank you so much, Mel. On to the next show for you guys, and thank you everybody for watching, and I hope to see you again at some other episode of Hell's for Children. V is for victory. Bye, everybody.